Let's see. That. Okay. Not too bad. Things seem to be working. A little less direct light, maybe. Better. Uh, now they're all gone. Good. So a few lights. Wrong ones. Jeez, they're all or nothing. No, don't. Fine, nothing. Infinitely adjustable. Right. You want to spend a week doing? Is that one of your computers? Not this one. There is a change in this chapter. One of my 313 students pointed out to me. This is a really classic example of what I was worried about when I got old. You know, not staying at all current. Changed something a year ago, year and a half now. He forgot about it. I heard about it, and I forgot about it, but they haven't actually put it through. And they did. So this makes your life easier. Makes accounting in the U.S. a little bit easier. One less issue to worry about. And we're modifying what we do to match what the International Financial Reporting Standards, which you've now read about, right? I paid you a little more. So, about this. No more extraordinary items. You read about extraordinary items, right? Unusual and infrequent. You had to separate them and put them down with discontinued operations at the bottom of the statement. You had a tax, right? By the income statement. Those are gone now. Europeans always thought we were crazy. And really, in the intermediate book that we're using, there were 24 companies out of 500 who actually had an extraordinary item that they sampled, right? So there's really very few people did it. And they were really extremely unusual and infrequent. There we go. And that was the idea of the gap, and it got generally accepted kind of principles. And it got tighter and tighter and tighter over time, right? And so, in a compromise with the International Financial Standards Board, the FASB, which you read about, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, has decided to drop it. So it's a good thing. Anyway, if you read this little thing I just handed you, it says this is an idea of what the FASB might do. It's a small one. Accounting Standards Update 2015-01. So you can see when it is. And this income statement, extraordinary and unusual items. Simplifying income statement presentation by eliminating the concept of extraordinary items. So this is kind of a pain for some folks, and we're not going to mess with it anymore. Standard takes effect for fiscal years beginning after December 15th, 2015. So obviously January 1st, 2015, December 31st, 2016 would apply. It also applies for interim periods, which means every 3 months. You read about quarterly reports in this chapter, right? So pretty good timing on this. And my 313 students made a lot of fun of me because I didn't know that it's pretty sad. Anyway, so I'm sure Alan Daddy will have a 212 told me. But he said, we used to make fun of students with, I'd do it in 211, teach it 101, and then teach it in 211, and then he'd ask them 212 and they didn't know it, right? Kind of a little pet thing he did. It's not. Okay, anyway, so you're aware, huh? So change that in your book. And I'll try to remember to change it in your quizzes and exams, okay? Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Actually, if you get the same question, all you have to do is what? Say it's not an extraordinary item, there's no such thing. And you did. All right. Anyway, but we'll go through chapter 5. Just talk in general about what is going on here. Why are we doing this? And I've talked about a number of these things, but I'm talking about them as we go through debits and credits, and mostly what you're picking up is how to do debits and credits, how to record things through. At this point, how to get it on a financial statement. So this is talking about what's the background of why would we do any of this. It talks about theory a lot in here. Theory is an interesting thing. you develop the theory first and then develop the practice, or you develop the practice and then the theory? How do we develop the understanding of chemistry and physics? We got the theory first, and then we made physics and chemistry do what they do, right? I don't think so. I think chemistry and physics did what they did, whether we had a theory or not, right? Chemicals interact with each other, true, right? You know, physical properties are there, whether we're aware of them or not. You know, I think gravity was there before we knew what gravity was, right, as human beings. And accounting is kind of the same way, except it seems really funny with this one because it's man-made, right? We made up the system, right? And then we generally accepted accounting principles are just what everybody did, right? And still are, really. Generally accepted, what people do, right? Okay, so what the vast majority of people would do became generally accepted accounting principles. And within industries, they'd have specific principles that would maybe apply to their industry, right? Where they had unusual things, natural resources or something, oil and gas industry. You know, they have a product that's different than other people's products, so you know, it might account for it differently. Anyway, construction industry, for instance, has their own generally accepted accounting principles to some extent, right? Share the common body and then have a few extra type thing. But anyway, they just sort of evolved. And then after the fact, we try to set up a theory to explain all that. I think the same thing's true with economic theory. What do you bet people were exchanging things before we had economic theory? You know, right? I've got something you need, some food probably, right? You get something I need, what, right? Probably not money, right? Okay, money. So, you know, we created all that stuff over time. And really, accounting is just economics, just is. Economists don't like it very well when you say accounting is just practical economics. But it is. It's just application of economics, right? So is finance. And accounting and finance are kind of the same thing, right? Easy money, right? Well, is economics built around money? They kind of measure things in terms of money, in terms of wealth, right? Okay, anyway. By the way, how many of you have taken an econ course so far? Does econ and accounting seem like the same thing to you? Good, good. If you see it, right? If you see it, yeah, it's the same stuff, right? Just different terminology. And finance and accounting are the same way, right? A little bit different terminology, but basically the same thing. What are we trying to do in each instance, I suppose? Generate as much wealth as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean as much wealth for one person as possible. It's as much wealth as possible for the society at large. And how do you measure that? Well, that's what economics is about. How do you measure it in terms of an individual business? That's what accounting is about, right? Or businesses, and you compare businesses. So if you put together all the financial statements for all the companies in the United States, what do you get? I don't know, something close to gross national product, right? You know, really, this is what's going on, okay? So this is just real micro economics, the way you can think about it, individual business, okay? Or by industry. So anyway, let's go through some of this stuff. We just got here, you did, and that was all? Yeah. Early. Okay. There's no such thing as extraordinary action anymore. You read about the chapter, so change that to this, okay? Read through it and take a look. Okay, anyway. Oh, I just have to do it here, huh? Something gonna happen? Let's move forward. Oh, there it goes. Is that the first one, or I already go through one? That's it. Okay, understanding the business. All right. So this whole idea of a fraud triangle, one of the big things, what value do financial statements have? So it's kind of like asking, what's the value of accounting, right? What value do financial statements have? What do you think?
If you have a really good one, persuade people to invest in your company.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you have good results and good prospects for the future, not necessarily a good statement, but a good statement helps towards that because it's readable, understandable. But yeah, you know, if you have good results that you're showing people in your income statement, and you have solid balance sheet, right? You know, good debt to equity, that sort of thing, right? You might convince people they should do what? Good cash flow statement too. Convince people that they should maybe invest in you. What else? They might invest through buying your stock, or they might also invest through buying your bond, which means loaning you money. They might loan you money, right? Which is kind of investing in you. They're going to make interest off of it, right? Get paid back. Okay? You might convince people to go to work for you. Oh, boy. You might convince the government to support your business because you're viable, right? Okay, you're doing good things in the community. You might convince suppliers to sell things to you because you have the ability to repay them. You might convince customers to buy things from you because you have the ability to deliver the product to them, on time and that sort of thing, right? High quality. All that kind of stuff is in your financial statements. It's just a whole bunch of information, right? So what you do is you provide information with the financial statements, right? Now, why is accounting GAAP then, generally accepted accounting principles, important? You want those statements to be understandable to people that are using them. Reasonably informed person, which you guys are going to be when you finish this class. You're going to know enough about reading financial statements that you could read financial statements and make at least, intelligent decisions, right? Okay? As much as most other business people, right? You could read them and you could make decisions using those financial statements. So it's really critical for the economy, right? If somebody asks you to give you their money and they can't tell you what they're going to do with it in the first place, and then can't tell you what they did with it after the fact, are you going to give them your money? No, you're just not going to. It's the way it works, right? Okay, you go to somebody who can, right? Here's the other thing. What if they lie? What if you give me $1 million? I lie to you about what I'm going to do with it. I lie to you about what the results were, and then later you find out that I lied to you. What do you want? I want my money back. Yeah, okay, and what happens is the bottom falls out of stock prices, the stock gets sold, right? If they find out that they were dishonest, and that's where this fraud triangle comes in. It's not just stealing the money that's put into business, because that can happen too, of course. There are massive frauds where that happened, right? Okay. Bernie Madoff, pyramid scheme, he just siphoned all the money out. He just took it all, right? And unbelievable. And so a massive, massive fraud. But a lot of the frauds are just misstating the financial statements. You misstate the financial statements so you can drive up your stock price because then your stock options are worth more, right? You get a bigger bonus, you get a promotion, you get to keep your job, right? But you're still stealing from the shareholders, right? And maybe stealing from the government, and right, from taxpayers, and so on, right? Not doing your share. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So if you think about this, if you have the opportunity to steal, without the opportunity, it's kind of hard to steal, right? Hard to mistake things. And then incentive, right? You need the money, you want the money, you're greedy enough. Okay, and then rationalization. Everybody does it as a typical one, right? Everybody does it, so I might as well do it too. Okay, in 211 and in 313, I just gave two take-home examples. Okay, think about this. Do they have the opportunity to cheat? Close books, close notes, don't work together, don't look anything up on the internet, just sit down and do it for 3 hours. Takes a degree of integrity, doesn't it? Right? People are going to trust you guys with their money. Can they trust you? Can you trust each other? If not, we can't have a functioning economy because we'll all be trying to steal from each other. And we know there are lots of people who steal. There are even people who steal and get away with it. This is when I really like to believe in a God. I'm an agnostic, so I don't know one way or the other. I'd like to believe in a God, and I'd like to believe in a heaven and a hell, so they got a reward, right? Because they're getting away with it. I know people that died extremely wealthy who I knew were pretty unethical. But you couldn't prove it. They're pretty good at their thievery, right? CPAs who were turning out audit opinions where they haven't done an audit. Just signing off on it. And I've had students go to work for them. This is how Washington State. I had students go to work for them. And this guy, he's driving around in a big stretch Mercedes. But he drove himself. I don't know why. He had plenty of money. He could have hired a chauffeur. Right? Lived in a multi-million-dollar house. And they did no work. He paid them horribly. I had told students quit going to work where we got all of ours out. We wouldn't send them. Didn't blackball them. That's horrible. Right? We just divided them. This is not a good career. And just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I did some interaction with him. Yeah, but I found out about his lack of work accidentally through a banker who just said, well, their audits aren't really audits, they're just compilations. It's the lowest level of service where there's no assurance. Everybody knows that. Well, it says audit on it because they were hiring another firm I was working with to do a review, right? which is a higher level of service. And then we're gonna pay less for it. What? You know, what's going on there? Okay, anyway. So, opportunity, incentive, and then the rationalization. Everybody does it, or it's not really cheating, it's all right. It's just making the financial statements look a little better. You know what? If I make the financial statements look a little better, my stock price will go down. Number of shares I can sell, I'm sorry, the stock price will go up. The number of shares I can sell will go up too, right? I get richer, right? When I sell my stock, okay? Better for the company. My cost of my debt's gonna go down, right? Yeah, it's gonna be a good deal, huh? All the way around. Everybody wins, wins, wins. Well, of course, you're stealing, right? Okay, and ultimately you'll get caught. Thing to always remember, when somebody encourages you to falsify financial statements, which if you become an accountant will absolutely happen in your career. And they'll just say, well, you know, 300 people work here, or 3,000 people work here. We can't put their jobs at risk. Just make it look a little better. Make the revenues a little higher. After the year's over, can you make your revenues more? How do you make your revenues more? You sell stock. Or make the expenses less. How do you make the expenses less after the year's over? You can't do that. Now, you might control the expenses better before the year's over. You might do it next year, right? But you can't change last year after you do it. Now, here's the problem. We are estimating a whole bunch of the numbers. Oh, estimating them. Right? So when you estimate things, we're going to estimate what portion of our accounts receivable are never going to be collected. Right? And that's going to be bad debt expense. And then or it's going to be allowance for doubtful accounts. The portion of the receivables are never going to be collected. The portion of the sales are never going to be collected. Are going to be bad debt expense. We're going to estimate it. Could you estimate a big number and have less income, or a small number and have more income? Does it take judgment? Yes. Ah, is there an acceptable range? Sure. Are there a whole bunch of unacceptable numbers? Yeah. Okay, so you're using your judgment, you're applying your judgment. Well, somebody can just say, well, I have a different opinion. Warranty is the same thing. We do is we estimate what all the warranties are going to be. When Ford sells cars, what is it, a 5-year warranty on probably? 5-year, 100,000 miles? They're going to estimate how much it's going to cost on average on all the cars and trucks that they sell for the next 5 years. No kidding. They get pretty good at doing this too, right? Could you fudge those estimates a little? Yeah, okay. And the same thing with valuing inventory. This is all sorts of estimates. So when you're working with estimates, imagine what that looks like. So anyway, yeah, these things. So think about those students that were at home. Did they have opportunity? Sure. Did they have incentive? Well, you get a better grade if you get a better score, right? Can they rationalize? Hell no. Can't do it. If you would steal a point on a quiz in here, you will certainly take $1 million bribe. Guaranteed. So don't ever take a point in a class. Don't look at your neighbor's paper. Don't look something up on a take-home if you aren't supposed to, right? Don't do it. How many of you have never, ever in your life compromised your integrity? Is there anybody in here that has never, really never, ever? You mean even back, have you never stolen a candy bar at a grocery store? Wow, you know, a little tiny piece of candy? Have you ever taken in, you can't do it anymore, they catch you. Have you ever, yeah, little mom and pop, you could, well, you can still do it convenience stores. I do it all the time. Joe, have you ever, people use it to, have you ever had somebody not bill you for something that you bought? You have to tell them, right? Or you stole it. You never had that happen. Have you ever had somebody give you too much change when you go through a check thing?
I've been on the other side of that. I've generally give too much change to people.
Yeah. And you've had people not tell you, right? And you've had other people tell you. Yeah. And you appreciate when people tell you too, huh? What I do is if I count the change and it's too much, I give it back. If it's not enough, and that's how much it is, and I say nothing, right? But, you know, it makes your till work better to tell them, right? You know, so they balance at the end of the day. True. Anyway, but if I don't count it, I figure, well, the over and under probably adds up. You know, maybe just take the change and throw it in my pocket. You know, I don't really care how much it is. It's less than $1, who cares, right? Just throw it in your pocket. Well, then I figure I'm not really cheap. But never anything? Your parents never told you to do something, you did something else?
That might have happened.
Ah, have you ever gone over the speed limit? It's a law, it's a rule, right? You know, when it says 65 miles an hour, I go 70. When it says 70, I go 70. When it says 75, I still go 70. Because my wife will kill me if I go over 70, basically, right? Okay, and when it's 80, I pop it up a little bit. When we're traveling the West Coast, there's 80, believe it or not, because it's, the speed limit's that high. Although they really enforce it to go over big time, apparently. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, you know, I'm always 5 miles over pretty much, right? I'm a lawbreaker, huh? Well, I think that one's okay. Why do I think that one's okay? I don't think I'm risking anybody's life, and on and on and on. What do I got? Rationalization, right? Rationalization. I don't think that one matters. But you know, when I was a little kid, my brother used to steal books in grocery stores, and I said, who would steal books? But anyway, he did, and he got caught. He got caught and dragged, and he's maybe 8 and I'm 5. He gets dragged home by this police officer holding me by the back of his shirt. And my grandma's there, and she's from the South. Lordy, 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 I'm not kidding. Those are the words. Never forget. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. It's so funny. And he's holding him, and he says, I'm taking him downtown. He's going to jail. And then he looks at me, and he says, you're in this crime ring too, aren't you? And I collapsed and confessed. Yeah, but anyway, what my dad did was he made us go to this grocery store that was right up on the corner from us, where we did most of our crime. And so he took us in there, and he made us apologize to the manager. He made the manager take money from us. The manager says, no. Just like now, right? It's always been that way. No, kids can't do anything wrong. Bull, you know, I know we were going to die. So it was pretty good. All we had to do was give him some of my dad's money, and then we had to work for 6 months. I'm not kidding.
What did you do?
It's hard to be at a construction company. We pick up rocks. I'm not kidding. 5 years old, picking up rocks in the sun. You know what? It's not because I'm afraid of picking up rocks. I don't think I'm going to get on the slave game again like that, you know. But it just broke me. Right? It just broke me completely. So whatever experience, it's really sad. Because now you'll probably steal $1 million and go to jail. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, not. But anyway, but seriously, you guys, from here forward, how many have ever cheated for a point, even unintentionally, ever in your life? You know, we used to copy the girls in first grade. They'd actually do the spelling book, and in the morning, all the guys would copy all the girls, right? Does this still happen? Yeah, probably, right? You know, the girls, they're real serious students. The guys, you know, such guys. You know, and so we copied. We got caught by our teacher, and I was going to marry her someday, right? She was real young, you know, probably 21 or something, 22, and she was gorgeous. You know what happened that school year though? She married somebody right in the middle of the year, and we're all in love with her. It's terrible. Okay, anyway, so whatever does it for you though, but maintain, right? Constantly. There will be people saying, well, you know, gosh, if you can't do better than that, maybe you need to work somewhere else. Run like hell. Maybe we need to find a new CPA. Run like hell. Get out of it. When they go down, you don't want to be part of it. And by the way, might that adversely impact your income? Yep, absolutely. I worked for a CPA firm. We fired our second largest client on my recommendation. The partners and I got together and we all, oh my gosh, this is going to really hurt. If we don't replace this business, we got to fire people in our firm that are really good people and doing a great job. I know, but they're thieves. We found out. They're going to take us down when they go down. We got rid of them. I had one where this poor woman, she started a microwave class. She sold microwaves, but she also had classes. When microwaves first came out, no kidding, they had stores that only sold microwaves, right? So, started a microwave store. Yeah. Well, we have phone stores now. It's no less stupid, right? Yeah. What do you need a phone store for? Anyway, you sell them at Walmart or, Kroger. You don't need a phone store, but we have them. That's to get more money out of us, right? I guess why to do that. Anyway, that's what that's about. So we can't make too much fun of the microwave stores either. They made money. Anyway, so they set up these places, and then they had, everybody's afraid of microwaves, because it's electronic stuff, and, the microwave house, they really were dangerous, right? They probably still are. But anyway, I have a brother-in-law who works for the Department of Energy in Washington State, and he won't be within 5 feet of a microwave while it's running. Brand new ones. Don't do it. And what do we do instead? Stare, right? Yeah. We just pride ourselves. Yes. But we trust it. That's so true. Anyway, so teaching these classes, and she's just so sweet. She's doing a great job. She's making a little bit of money. And her husband was a jailer at the Pierce County Jail in Tacoma, Washington, so in Public County. And so her husband is a jailer, and he ends up in the paper one morning. You know, I get up in the morning, this is back when we still had newspapers, right? And before the internet. And so, you know, you open up the newspaper, and here's his picture, and he's arrested with the Carbone family, which is this organized crime family in Tacoma. There's a lot of mafia in Tacoma back in those days, probably still. Anyway, and he's arrested, and what he was doing, well, first what happened was there was a little gang war going on, and they were burning down strip clubs, right, on the perimeter of town. And a night watchman had to be sleeping at each other's, you know, type of thing. We capture the business, and a little war going on. And so they burned down this one, and a night watchman was in there and died. Now all of a sudden, this is a big deal. So they start doing more investigation, and then they find out that he's the jailer. He's the head jailer for Pierce County. And what he was doing was he would go gamble at the casino on the Indian reservation, lots of Indian reservations out on the West Coast. And so he'd go gamble at the Indian reservation, but when he won, he got to keep the money, and when he lost, he never had to pay for the losses. He just went home. And what he did in exchange, so that's a lot of money. So what he did in exchange for that was when somebody got put in the jail, he only gave them one card for a bail bondsman. And it was the Carbone family bail bondsman. And they found out about this, and of course, then he got arrested too, right? Well, he's getting paid to only give one phone number.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah, and the way they paid him was he didn't have to pay for his losses at the casino, right? So it's a way to pay him without actually handing him money, right? You know, so they find out about this, and he's going to jail. He's married to her, and he's in the paper, and of course the same last name, and we've had to fire her. The little tiny client. I mean, as a client. You mean you fire your customers? Yeah. If they lack integrity. And we weren't worried about her integrity, but we thought the loan she had probably came via his friends. And all we needed was for that to hit the newspaper. So you guard your reputation, right? But you also guard, you know, in back part, do you have integrity, right? And I have no reason to believe she divorced him, you know, got away from it. So it's really sad. But it killed her business. Right? It was over, right? Did her in a whole variety of ways. So anyway, be careful. Yeah. So anyway, corporate governance proceeds to ensure that companies manage in the interest of the shareholders, but also in the interest of society. But now we say all stakeholders, right? So your customers, your vendors. Here's the thing. For long-run profitability, long-term profitability, so wealth maximization, we talk about in economics a lot. Do we mean wealth maximization this minute? Or do we mean wealth maximization over the long term? Hopefully over the long term. When I invest money and I leave it for 40 years, which I've done, right? And I hope you guys do too, so you have a nice retirement, right? When you invest money and you watch it grow, I'm not worried about what it's worth year to year, moment to moment to moment. It's a little bit entertaining to see what's happening in the stock market, but that's all. What I really worry about is long-term appreciation, right? Remember that when you're running a business. Now, where can you get in trouble? If you're paying your people this month for what they did this month, right? And they're managing the stock price, trying to get it up, they might do things that aren't really in your long-term interest. They have a conflict of interest going on here, right? They might benefit them short-term, and then they're going to go work somewhere else. And then they'll benefit themselves short-term and go somewhere else. And the companies they're working for might not benefit very much at all. So you try to design compensation packages, right, where the long term matters. That's what the idea was with stock options, by the way. If we give them stock options, right, then they'll stay. It's an option to buy the stock, right? So then they'll stay to be able to exercise their stock option. And the problem is they can manipulate that stock value, manipulate how much they're going to pay for the stock, right, what relative to what it's worth, the timing of it, and they can extract a whole bunch of wealth from shareholders through that, right? Just recklessly. So you have to be careful with this stuff. Bonus is the same thing, right? If you meet your bonus target, you get your bonus. If you don't meet the bonus target, you don't. So cheat your financial statements, meet your bonus target, and get your money, right? People get tempted, okay? So, yeah. Sarbanes-Oxley is the most recent one. Every once in a while, this was back in 2000, 2002, this was the most recent big series of frauds that hit financial statements. Okay, the Bernie Madoff thing came after that, but that was more of an isolated one. The subprime loan mess, which you guys may be somewhat aware of, right? Subprime loans, loaning money to people who definitely couldn't pay it back. And then they did something, the banks did this, and then securitized it and sold it off to people as investments. So what they did was they loaned money to people who they pretty much knew couldn't pay it back, right? Subprime loans. Subprime's a real nice thing, name for junk, right? Garbage loans. Okay? They'd sell, they issue the debt, not worrying about who they issued the debt to because they knew they were going to sell the debt. So it's like he loans money and then he sells you the right to collect it. And he's out of the deal and he takes his profit, right? But you're going to make a whole lot of interest because they pay high interest rates, and you're going to get paid the loan at the end. Oh, but there's one problem. Those folks never pay the interest of the loan. So this thing collapsed, and that was the most recent big collapse that we've had. And we periodically have these things, right? Well, this one, and that one has changed how lending practices are done to some extent, at least in the short term. Tends to revolve back. You guys hear politicians talk about there's not enough regulation, or there's too much regulation, right? Sometimes the same politician, right? But, you know, a lot of times people think the Republicans don't want any regulation. Sure they do want regulation that protects them. And they say Democrats only want regulation. Well, not always, right? Not for people who are giving them big donations, right? They don't want to regulate them. They want to donate, they want to regulate somebody else, right? Same thing with taxation. Nobody wants to pay taxes, but everyone wants all the benefit, right guys? If you don't want to pay taxes, stop driving on the roads. Don't ever use police or fire protection, okay? If you don't want to pay taxes, right? Don't send your kids to school, you know, stuff like that, right? Don't do that, right? So of course we have to pay for what we get. Most things, it doesn't bother us to pay for what bothers us, but we expect to pay for what we get, right? You don't expect everything for free, except for public services, those we think we have to pay for. Bizarre, right? You know, so I think we ought to pay for police protection and roads and stuff. So anyway, not that I think we need to pay for waste either. But, okay, anyway, Sarbanes-Oxley is the most recent one. They came up with this law, and this was a senator and a representative, House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, of course, the Congress. Okay, anyway, a law which strengthens financial reporting and corporate governance, well, to some extent, yeah. It made CEOs, Chief Executive Officers you read about, and CFOs, Chief Financial Officers, actually sign a representation that the financial statements really are the truth to the extent they know what the truth is, right? That they're correct representation. They didn't use that to sign that. You just have an audit opinion where an auditor would sign that in their opinion, everything's okay, right? But the auditors don't work for the company. They don't run the company. The CEO runs the company, right? So now they have to take more legal responsibility. They can actually, instead of just being fined, we go to jail. And there have been a couple of cases where they have. Okay, so there's a little bit of teeth in it, a little bit. So when people steal, they may get caught and actually pay the price for it, okay? Come on. All right, and obviously, there's the board of directors. What's the deal? Shareholders own all the stock. They elect the board of directors. There's an audit committee of the board of directors. The audit committee hires the auditors. The auditors report to the audit committee. Make sense? You might have an internal control operation within the company who also report to the audit committee of the board of directors. Okay? And you want a board of directors that's independent of management, right? In a small company, the board and the management will probably be the same people. In a really large company, they'll try to keep it separate. Okay? All right, anyway, and then there's the regulators, the SEC. By the way, who has the right, this is going to be an answer in a quiz, who has the right to write generally subject contracts? Who has the right to write generally subject contracts? Who has the legal right to do it? The SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. Who usually writes accounting announcements? Yeah, financial accounting stands for it. Why did that happen? The 1933 Act, the Securities Act of 1933, established reporting standards for initial public offerings. That's when a company initially issues their stock to the public, right? Initial public offering, okay? And then the 1934 Act does annual financial statements and quarterly reports, right? Every 3 months, 4 times a year, right? We do quarterly reports. They talk about 10Qs and 10K, 10Ks and the 34 Act really applies to everybody, right? The 33 Act just sort of started the process, right? The initial public offerings. Why did those come out, by the way? What was right around the 1930s, right before the 1930s? The Great Depression, and people were stealing And that's part of what caused the Great Depression. People were getting people to invest in things that had no substance behind it and weren't telling the truth about what they were doing with the money. Financial statements were relatively primitive. So this kind of created, right, the SEC, which kind of created the accounting profession really as a separate profession. They were tracking things long before that. Of course, you read about that a little bit, right? But just having sort of an understanding of the history of this, right? It's fairly recent, isn't it? Really, in terms of history, right? And even in U.S. history, it's fairly recent. Anyway, so the SEC has the right. The FASB typically does it. Why do you think it is that way? The SEC has no money. It's a government agency. Their chair is nominated by the president, confirmed by Congress. Who provides their budget? Congress. Does Congress particularly right now want to give any money to a regulator? Nope. We'll complain about not having adequate regulations, but we won't give them any money, and they don't have very many employees. So you have a few thousand people responsible for supposedly monitoring all the companies there are in the U.S. All right, come on, not a joke, right? However, CPA firms could do it, right? So the FASB, through CPA firms, right? The FASB writes the announcements and the CPA firms do the audit. Got the idea? Okay, so it's public-private kind of deal, okay? The FASB didn't used to exist either. There was an APB before that, Accounting Principles Board, right? Well, the FASB is a little less independent of the accounting profession. The APB was more part of the accounting profession. It's a subset of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. My dad likes to say that's our union, but kind of in a way it is, right? Lobbying group and membership group. Anyway, and then this is new too, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. As a result of Sarbanes-Oxley, that was created, and they're regulating CPA firms to some extent, financial statement reporting, auditing, right? This is more for the auditing. Auditing is after you've got your financial statements, somebody comes in and tries to verify, right, collect evidence that your financial statements fairly present the financial position of the company, results of operations, okay, for a particular year. So that's what that is. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So it's sort of the world that we're working with, okay? So that's worth looking at. Later you'll know a lot about it, okay? Annual reports, you already know this. 4 basic financial statements. What are they? Balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, and we're going to add an equity statement, okay? And then tons and tons of notes, okay? They go on for page after page after page. There's a report on the independent accountant's auditor's opinion on the statements. If it's a public company, it has to have that, okay? You can't sell your stock on an organized stock exchange without an audit opinion, okay? They won't list it. So what does the audit do? It adds credibility to the financial statements, right? And that's a value. So of course, you pay for the audit, right? Okay, you get that. I would not invest in a company that did not have an auditor opinion. I don't know anything about it. I'm not there. I want an auditor at least look at it, right? Okay. Do the auditors say everything is fine in these financial statements? No. They say, in our opinion, the financial statements fairly present. Got it? So it's their opinion. They've just done some statistical tests. Imagine McDonald's. How many times does a kid push the button that says Big Mac? I think there's an auditor watching them every single time, making sure that gets in the financial statements. Come on, what a joke, right? So they look at their systems, how they work, right? They do some testing of the systems, test transactions going into the financial statements, look at all the disclosures, and in their opinion, they fairly present, okay? Represent what's going on. Okay, I know it seems silly to know what a 10K is or a 10Q. K means for a year, Q means for quarterly, right? But it's really good to know that because people just throw those terms around out in the business world. So you know, right? So learn it, know it, right? What a 10K is. Publicly traded companies have to file with the SEC, that's their annual report. Okay? Then you guys have seen balance sheet already. This is just assets equal liabilities plus equity, right? That's all it is. But it got a little more detail now. We try to keep it to 1 page, but lots of times it'll be 2 pages sitting side by side. You get too many things on it. Yeah, so this is a real one. This is for Apple. And it's consolidated. We'll do consolidations later on a little bit on. What consolidated is Apple owns a whole bunch of other companies. And if they own a controlling interest, which means more than 50%, they combine the financial statements of all the companies. Got it? Into one big company. So because it's all under one control. Make sense? you own more than 50% of the stock, of course, when you vote, you win. So they're controlling those. All right, so they'll always have that. Let's see, so I don't know. We're going to go through every single one of these accounts before the class is over. Not in massive depth, we'll talk about them a bit, okay? But this is what a balance sheet looks like, the assets, and there's some flexibility with it, but looks different from company to company. But total current assets are what? So, whoops, what's a current asset?
Something that will, something you have right now due to past transaction.
But that's an asset, that's good, but what's a current one?
Something that will be used in years.
It doesn't want to do that for me. I'm gonna get the backup, you think?
Yep, is it right click?
Yeah, it's not letting me do anything on this. Turkey, come on. Ah. Oh, now I did it. I know.
Oh, down there.
There's an
arrow there, bottom left.
There's an arrow, if I go right here.
Okay. One more.
Okay.
One more.
Why it's not there all the time, we don't know. Okay, anyway, all right. All right. It's probably a setting where I can make it be there all the time. But anyway, whoops, that's so casual, that one I thought you. It's going the wrong way still. For heaven's sakes. Come on. Come on. Cannot display while the slide shows me. Aha, look at this. Now I got it. Ooh, you're doing so good, too. Okay, there we go. All right. So, yeah, now you got it 3 times. Okay, anyway, so what do we mean by current, though? It's going to be, the asset's going to be used up within a year. It's cash now, or can convert to cash, or be used up within a year. What's non-current? More than a year. That's simple, okay? Or operating cycle, whichever is longer. We could do that later. Okay, and then current liabilities is going to be paid within a year. Got it? Okay, so we'll separate those. There could be more detail or less detail in this. We've got our all of our assets listed, all of our liabilities listed, and of course our liabilities plus our equity, all our equity listed, is going to add up to the total liabilities and equity. So this is stuff you already know, isn't it? It's just, what does a real one look like a little bit, okay? By the way, this is pretty condensed. Okay, do I want to keep my color scheme? Why is it doing that? Go away. All right. And then an income statement. You know what's interesting is the balance sheet usually has a lot more on it than the income statement for a public company. They don't want to tell their competitors anything, they don't have to tell them. They don't want to tell the union anything, you don't have to tell them, right? So generally, some of the accounting principles require a certain amount of disclosure, and most people do that amount of disclosure. So when you look at an income statement, this is a real one for Apple, right? There aren't very many lines on it, are there? But you guys already know what these things are, don't you? Oh, by the way, for a public company, 2 balance sheets, 3 income statements, 3 cash flow statements, 3 equity statements. For a private company, usually 2 of each, okay? Comparative is what I'm talking about, right? So this is 3 years there, okay, guys? Anyway, sales, cost of sales, gross profit, different operating expenses, and you can categorize them however you want. You might have a supporting schedule where you do a list, certainly for internal use you would. You have to do a list of all the research and development, selling, general administrative expenses on a supporting schedule, and the total of that schedule would tie into these. So that would make sense, okay? So we get down to operating income, and then we have other stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to separate operating activities from peripheral activities, non-operating. So I told you there are revenues and expenses, right? Everything under the operating is revenues and expenses. The stuff down into the peripheral or incidental are gains and losses. There's no revenue, instead it's a gain. There's no expense, instead it's a loss, okay? This might be when I'm selling an asset. I've got a building and I sell it, or a piece of equipment and I sell it. It's not in the normal course of business, right? So if I'm UPS, my normal course of business is delivering freight. That would be my sales, right? Service revenue, and my expenses, operating expenses. But what happens if I sell a truck that I've had for a while? There'd be a gain or a loss on it. How would I know if there's a gain? I sell it for more than its book value, more than it's in my financial statement value, which would be its cost less its accumulated depreciation. We'll do this in a few chapters. Okay? What would be a gain? I sell it for more than its book value. Loss, sell it for less than its book value. Right? But there's no revenue or expense associated because I'm not in business to do that. Got the idea? So anyway, that stuff would be shown down here, and so they just call it other income and expense. And then there's income taxes we typically show separate. And then we show earnings per share for the net income. It's just the net income divided by the weighted average number of shares. It's a real pain to compute, but that's all it is, okay? The shares that were outstanding during the year. And then people like this number. It gives them an idea for every share they own, how much they earned. I don't know. I don't think it's real valuable, but it's all right, okay? So if I own 1,000 shares, I can take 1,000 times that number, and that's my share of the income. Got it? Okay, and what we do is every line from net income and thereafter, so if you have other things down below it, right, include that too. Okay. All right, and there's the earnings per share calculation. Okay. This is going to be one of the ratios we do towards the end of the class. Oh, by the way, did I tell you guys we're not, I did, didn't I? I'm not going to be testing you in cash flow until we do the cash flow problem, or cash flow chapter, right? Okay, and then we'll do it big time, all right? And I'm not going to be testing you much on ratios either. They show you ratios as we go. Read about them, learn about them, know them, it's good, right? Because we're going to have a chapter on doing them, and I'm going to expect you to learn about them, okay? So we'll do it that way. Keeps it a little clearer as we're going along, I think. Okay, here's another one, gross profit percentage. All these things are really pretty simple. You know what? You don't have to memorize what gross profit percentage is. What's gross profit? Sales less cost of goods sold is gross profit, right? What's gross profit percentage? How about gross profit divided by sales? What do you think? Simple, isn't it? Okay, so very straightforward. And they say net sales. You use net sales. What's net sales? Sales less sales discounts and sales returns and allowances. Give people discounts for paying earlier, right? Encourages early payment, which reduces bad debts, people not paying us. Guess what? If people pay you sooner, they're more apt to pay. What's the best way to not have bad debts? Only sell for cash. Why would anybody grant credit? Let people pay later. Use your competitors do, and if you don't, they'll buy from your competitor instead of you, right? You lose customers. When we grant credit, do we know we're going to have bad debts? Yes. Right? Who pays for the stuff that, some customers buy stuff and they don't pay for it? Who pays for that? The ones who do pay, included in the purchase price, right? Cost you more. Right, guys? Okay. Would it be better if everything was for cash? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe there wouldn't be as much economic activity, probably, but it really wants us to do something.
If you click the bottom one, it shouldn't pop up again.
Don't show this message again. Yeah, we tried that. It might not do it at least today, right? Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. All right. Okay, what's comprehensive income? Well, I kind of lied to you guys a little bit. Can't believe I've done that. Can you? See if I can do it. Maybe that's kind of working. No, it's not. Work. Thank you. We got it. Okay. I told you guys that we have assets, liabilities, and equity, and then revenues and expenses, right? I lied a little bit. Just a little bit. And white lie. Here we are talking about ethics and integrity today, and I lied to you. Terrible. Wow. My pointer's gone. I guess I am using this nothing to do. Someone's gone. Okay, anyway. I would not find it in my office or something. Somebody probably has it in their office. Anyway, I told you that we had these, and then I already added in here that, down after our income from operations, we might also have gains, right? Similar, gain by the way, what kind of balance is gain gonna have? They increase your net income. Credit, yeah, gain's gonna have credits. Okay, and also coming in here, we'll have losses. What kind of balance is a loss gonna have? Yeah, it's gonna be a debit because it's reducing your income. That would make sense. So we're adding two more categories there. And this one gets worse. I told you that there's contributed capital and there's retained earnings. There's something called other comprehensive income. This is where we put all the things we don't know what to do with. Okay? I'm not kidding. That's kind of what happens. So here's a big example. We're going to learn about this later. And there's several of them, several different things. Available for sale securities. What the deal is with available for sale securities is companies will have a big investment in the stock market, right? We know what the value is of those stocks if they're all publicly traded, right? We know what the values are of those at the end of the given year, right? So we know what the market is. So everybody agreed that we want to mark the market, we call it. We want to adjust the asset from whatever the historical cost was when we bought it, or whatever the market value was last year, right? We want to adjust it to its current value at the end of each year. Make sense? Okay, we could agree on that. So if it increased in value, we debit the account. If it decreased in value, we credit the account. We just adjusted the market every year. Okay? The problem was we couldn't agree on what to do with the gain or loss. You want to put the gain or loss in the income statement. Well, you would think, well, yeah, it should be on the income statement, but here's the problem. You're not selling the stock. When the stock market was at about, I think it was about 13,500. Now it's about 18,000. No, 17, 18, yesterday. When it was about 13.5, the bottom fell out and went down to about 6,500 in 3 months. My wife thought that we were never going to be able to retire, and we were going to be able to eat when we retire. I just said, relax. It was way overvalued, right? It had been for years. And I was buying stock every month. My wife and I, 15% of our income buy stock every month, right? And has it for years. Okay, so you put money in, we put money in, we put money in. So I'm buying stock, I know it's too high in value, but it keeps going up, right? You don't know when it's going to go down. Well, all of a sudden it adjusted massively, right? This is the big crash, right? From the end of poor George Bush's second term, right?
So
Bush Jr. Yeah. So the bottom's up. And Obama's been much better president, of course, because now the stock market's at 18,000. You know, when he took office, it was at 6,500. President has almost nothing to do with what's going on in the stock market, by the way. Either one of them. So don't base your voting on what happened in the stock market. Other things, yes. Other things within the economy, sure. But the stock market, probably not. But anyway, so it varies in it. So when the bottom fell out, did we really take a loss? Is the question here. Did we have a loss? Did our wealth get cut in half? Well, sure, on paper, but we didn't sell anything. Why would anybody do that? Part of the reason the market went down so much is people were crazy and were selling stuff. And kept selling it after it was selling for less than it was worth, instead of keeping it until it recovered, right? We kept 100% of what we had. Now, if I'd have known when it was at the peak and I could have sold everything I had, waited for it to go to dip down to the bottom in 3 months and then rebuy, I could have gotten really rich, right? But I don't have a crystal ball. I couldn't guess when that was, right? Nobody could guess when that was, okay? Some people did pretty good, but maybe it's luck, right? Okay? Guessing right. Because you could place bets all the time on what's going to happen next in the market. And people do that for a living, kind of fun, or just for fun, right? Okay? So anyway, when it went down, did we lose any money? Only on paper. When it went up, did we make money? Only when it went past where it had been in the first place, right? Back to 13,000, we were just getting back to where we started, right? And that took a number of years to recover that. As long as you don't sell, you don't lose. Same thing with the company, right? Okay? So, same deal, right? So, everybody says, well, it's not a real loss if it's going to recover. So, if it, only if it's real short term, it's called a trading security. Then we go ahead and recognize, which means, by the way, recognize means put it in the financial statements. I told you that before, right? Make a journal entry. What does realize mean? Cash change hands. So when would you recognize the losses? Well, on trading securities, on the income statement in the current year, those are the ones we're going to trade real soon. But if we're going to keep it for any period of time, you know, say 3 months to a year, right? Or for more than a year, we want to record the fair value in the balance sheet, but we don't want to show the gain or loss on the income statement. Everybody got the idea of this thing? Kind of complex for where we're at right now. It'll make sense as we go along. Okay, so what happens then is let's say it increased in value. We would debit available for sale securities, and we would credit other comprehensive income for change in market value. Got the idea? So here it is. Only this one was what? This was a loss. So fair value change in available for sale investments, they went down there, right? Here's a cash flow hedge. We gained. You don't need to know what that is yet. Here's a loss on a defined benefit pension plan. And here's currency translation differences, right? Okay, holding foreign currency, and you lost some money in that case. Okay, so all this stuff here, this is called other comprehensive income. Net income plus and minus all the other comprehensive items gives you your comprehensive income. So there are 3 pieces of equity now: contributed capital, other comprehensive income, and retained earnings. In this class, we're not going to mess with them too much, right? Just on investments. Okay, we're not doing pensions until much later. It's real complex. Okay? Oh, good. There's an equity statement, what one looks like. Okay? Only typically we wouldn't just have retained earnings in common stock. You might have additional paid capital in the common stock. You might have preferred stock, additional paid capital on that. You'd have that other comprehensive income we were just talking about. Okay? So this gets to be a big spreadsheet going across. But it starts with the beginning balances, works down to the end too. Oh, and every single one of the statements, the company name, what the statement is, and the balance sheet will say a specific date, just one date, because we don't close those accounts, right? So it's really from the day you started the business through today, but we just say the date, right? These authors always show as of. I've never seen anybody write as of now. They just put the date down. Makes more sense. And then, but notice here, they didn't do it. Oh, for crying out loud. I'd say the balances at least. It should say for the year ended, just like it did on the income statement. Okay. So. And the same thing on the cash flows. They didn't put the for the year end down that either. It should be there. Okay. I think they did in the book. So anyway, this cash flow statement, we're going to learn how to do it. It looks really imposing, but you know what it is? It's the beginning cash down to the ending cash, and explaining the change in cash. No kidding. And it explains where the cash came from and where it went. Okay? So it looks really intimidating now. By the time we're at the end of the course and we're doing this, it's not going to be a big deal for you guys. You don't believe it. And I'm going to give you a bunch of points for being able to do it. So we'll crank through it, learn how to do it. So this is a real one for Apple. That's fine. And then the notes have all kinds of stuff in them. There's the first note that it's a summary of significant accounting policies. There are choices in GAAP. Like we get the inventory, there can be something called FIFO and LIFO. You tell people in your summary of significant accounting policies which one you're using, right? Because it makes a difference in how the financial statements turn out, how the numbers turn out. Different depreciation methods. We talked about straight line. There's a whole bunch of accelerated methods, right? Double defining balance. Some of you use digits, different things like that, right? And so what we do is we'll tell people which ones we do, what our lives were on our assets, how long they're going to last, that kind of thing. Okay? So where there are choices, okay? We disclose all that. So in the notes, descriptions of key accounting, they shouldn't say rules, they're principles. This is an interesting thing. This is a profession. We have principles, guidelines, things we're supposed to follow unless we have a reason not to. If you have a reason not to, though, use your judgment and don't follow them. So people will say rules because we typically follow generally accepted accounting principles, right? They're still principles. What we're going for is fair disclosure here. Now here's the big difference between financial accounting and tax accounting. What are we trying to do in financial accounting? To the extent possible, tell people the truth, right? That's it, okay? We're trying to get the best disclosures we possibly can just to tell people what's going on. Impartial, independent, you got the idea? Okay, we just want to tell them the best picture we can possible. What are you trying to do in tax practice? Get your tax bill as low as possible legally. Oh. Got it? What's tax avoidance? Paying less tax legally. What's tax evasion? Don't pay it, illegally reducing or avoiding pay. You got it, right? Go to jail for that. Okay? And people, so what does a tax professional do? A CPA or an attorney, either one. What do? They try to minimize the tax bill for their clients, and they get paid really well for doing that. If you go into tax practice, that's what you're going to do, right? You go into tax consulting, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Congress writes the law. It's ambiguous. You can interpret a whole bunch of different ways. Always, because they're really complex, right? So you can interpret it in different ways. Now you can get more and more aggressive about that, and at some point it ceases to be avoidance and turns into evasion. And you have to be careful, right? Okay, but it's an interesting career. It's all right. Nothing wrong with it. We don't do that in financial accounting. What do you do in financial accounting? Try to get the best estimate possible and tell people what it is, right? We're not trying to make our income more or less, right? We're just trying to tell people what it is. Does that make sense? The way you make your income more is sell more stuff, right? Run your business or reduce your expenses, right? That's all you do, right? How do you make your balance sheet look better? Earn more or have people invest more. I don't know, basically, right? That's it, okay? Pretty simple. Anyway, additional details supporting reported numbers will have the number. We want to tell people the background behind it. Relevant financial information not in the statements. We can tell people all sorts of things, okay? And they talk about some of those things. All right, and this one, this first thing, this differences between U.S. GAAP and International Financial Reporting Standards. Look at that, extraordinary items. How would you change that? Prohibited. They're both prohibited on both, and we won't even mention them anymore probably going forward, right? They'll just stop talking about it, okay? When you guys get into 211, we'll have a book, a new one. They come out every few years, and they will have a new one that just, I looked at it just a few minutes ago, it just leaves it out. Doesn't even talk about it. Yeah. So, one little footnote, kind of, target that used to exist. Okay, but here are some examples. I mentioned last in, first out. This is really funny. We pretend that when you sell something, right, the product that you're selling, inventory, we sell the most recent things that we got before the new stuff, before we sell the old stuff. Imagine if a bakery or a dairy did this. Dairy's been in business for 100 years. They're always selling the new milk and keeping the old. What do they have, quarts of milk sitting around that are 100 years old? Nobody does this, right? This was only for tax purposes, and is only for tax purposes. But you know what? Congress writes tax law, right? And you know what they did in their infinite wisdom? Attorneys probably, right? Congressmen. You know what they did? They wrote the law such that if you want to use LIFO, last in, first out, for financial statement or for tax return purposes, you must use it for financial statement purposes. So it's allowed under joint subject accounting principles because they wrote a law that said it had to be. Wow, this is interesting, isn't it, right? Politics is a lot of this, right? How things are accounted for. So the rest of the world thinks we're crazy, right? It's prohibited. They say nobody really does that, and we know nobody does that, except you have to account for it. That way you don't get the tax benefit. By the way, how do you suppose there's a tax benefit out of that? The new stuff with inflation costs more. So your cost of goods sold will be higher because you're selling the new stuff and keeping the old stuff, right? And you never completely get rid of your inventories. That old stuff gets older and older and older in a little tiny number, right, in inventory, which is not realistic at all. But over on the income statement and on the tax return, you're showing the higher expenses for the new purchases, right? You're buying new inventory. Got the idea? So what it does is it drives up your cost of goods sold, drives down your income. Which on an income statement, you don't necessarily want less income, right? On a balance sheet, you don't necessarily want less inventory, but what about in your tax return? You like to have less income because you pay less taxes, don't you? Believe it or not, we got a way that we can get around that. I'll show you that in Accounting 211. So we really use LIFO for financial statement purposes, but the statements look like we don't, kind of. A little bit bogus. But anyway, so yeah. But it's a strange one that just comes out of tax law. Anyway, reversal of inventory write-downs, we prohibited. We write down to the lower cost of market. And we'll do all this stuff later, right? So being conservative, right? Okay. You guys read about conservatism in here, right? This chapter 2. Okay, what's conservatism? Anybody got an idea? Conservatism, being conservative.
So when you take like a fair value of something, it's like, you know, like, I don't know, just one, just take like a fair.
Okay, the best estimate you can.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. Get the best number you possibly can. A way you could look at it too. Where did I get that thing over there when I get to all the different streams? I want to go to the second stream. You showed me before. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. How do we do it?
Get to it.
Mouse?
Yeah.
Remember we had a whole thing along the top?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Somehow we did it. I'll do it this way. You guys are supposed to have memories after it. You're the one who figured it out.
Wait.
So you did that.
Put that arrow on the left on the bottom left corner. No, on the
No,
other side.
other side of the
Other side of the screen.
Oh, this one? I think that just moves it to the other side.
Alright.
Okay, anyway, let's do conservatism. We'll magically figure it out sometime. It'll just appear, right? It's probably like that one's in the background down there too. Maybe it's just up there somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. Okay, let's think about what conservatism is. I like what you said, that it's trying to get the best estimate you can. You need conservative, okay? But if I'm choosing between competing estimates, I would choose, this is what, they're just as good estimates, but I'm choosing between a couple of them, right? What I would do is I would take the one that gives me less assets, right? I don't want to overstate my assets. I'd take the one that gives me more liabilities. Make sense? I don't intentionally understate my assets or overstate my liabilities. I just take, if I'm choosing among competing estimates, I'll take the ones that go in that direction. That makes sense? Okay? What happens with revenue? I'd opt for the lower estimate of revenue, wouldn't I? What happens with expenses? I'd opt for the one that's higher. What do both of those do to net income? Less net income, less net income. Got the idea? What do both of those do to equity? Less wealth, less wealth. You guys with me? What do both of these do to equity also? Less, less. What are we trying to do? Let's not tell people we're worth more than we are. Let's be careful not to do that. That does not mean, and I'll try to suck you in on questions about this, right? Later, if you do the CPA exam, be careful with this. You don't intentionally misstate your financial statements, right? Get the best estimate you can, but when you're choosing between competing ones, right, you would take the ones that are more conservative, right? Okay? Don't make it look so good. I'd recommend you do that anyway throughout your careers. Don't overstate what you do. Gotta tell the truth about it, right? Don't blow your own horn too much. Just work hard, get a lot done, right? You in the public accounting, everybody's gonna know how much you're producing. You're gonna be charging your clients. You're gonna see how many hours you billed and how many they were able to collect from. They're gonna know what you did, didn't do. Okay, and that sort of stays throughout your career. Okay, no matter where you're at, just work, just work. Okay, anyway, so just some different things though, because it gives you some ideas. All right, so good. Let's learn something else. All right, just another ratio, fine. Net return on assets. What's the return? Net income. So income divided by the average assets. So we'll talk about these things later. All right. It's not really the end of chapter 5, but we'll talk about a few more things. Yes.
The chapter talked a little bit about amortization of, like non-business assets.
What business? Non-business assets?
No, like non-physical.
Non-physical, intangible assets.
Yeah.
Intangible assets. Okay, yeah. An example of intangible asset. The big one is goodwill, which we used to amortize. We don't anymore. But first was an intangible asset. It's when you can't see, touch, feel, right? Yeah, So there are lots of intangible assets, really.
Could a stock share be?
Could a what?
Like a share of stock. You can't really see that.
Well, yeah, but usually that one at least we wouldn't consider a share of stock like buying stock in another company. Right. We wouldn't consider that an intangible one because there's actually the share, and that represents the assets, the portion of the assets of the company we own, and the portion of the liabilities that we own. So we own a portion of their equity, right? Okay, so that would still be considered a tangible. And this would be more like a copyright, right? For instance, we have a copyright, we can't see it, but it protects, our asset. Okay, that copyright makes it a more valuable asset. Patents, the same thing. And then there's goodwill. Goodwill is the big one. We used to amortize it years ago, but we don't anymore. Instead, what we do is revalue it every year. Well, we value it down if it declines in value, conservatism. So we have an actuary determine what the value of it is going forward. Okay, and then we'll value it, and then we'll be reduce its value, not a loss, right? The reduction in the value if it went down. What is goodwill though? If all companies have, well, maybe some companies have ill will, no, they don't put it on the books. But what is goodwill? What is it?
I mean, I would kind of compare it to sort of like sentimental value of the company. So like just
Maybe.
well known, like the big name, that's kind of a
Okay,
good
their name.
Don't.
You don't really have your name in your general ledger as an asset, right?
really.
But it's valuable. People know your name. Sure. Okay. Name, reputation. Again, it can be positive or negative, but almost we think of it as positive. So, you know, you built your brand, right? Okay, it's on the books. How about your customers? Customers love you. Is that valuable? Of course it is. How about if your vendors love you? Valuable? Yeah. How about if you have good government relations? Sure. How about if your employees are really, really happy? Yeah. Right? None of those things are assets in your general ledger, right, guys? So, you know, if you and I were to start a business, could we generate goodwill pretty quickly? Hopefully we would, right? We start a business, we do a really great job, our customers love us, our employees love us, our vendors love us, got the idea? Everything's working really well. Well, it doesn't show on the balance sheet, but it's really a value. If we were to sell our business, would we get more for the business because of that? Oh yeah, oh yeah. How about, do any of you have a favorite restaurant? When you really like, what restaurant?
Ruth's Chris.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, Ruth Chris, great place. Okay. You know, Ruth Chris has tables and chairs and employees, tablecloths, silverware, you know, they have a kitchen. And they have the same junk every other restaurant has. They do. Are they worth more? Yeah. Why? Yeah, reputation, and then also the reality, right? And they're really, really good food. They do. They charge a fortune for it. What's that?
Location is awesome.
Location is awesome. Yeah, you know. So all that factors together in a business. Does anybody have a restaurant that they absolutely hate? You don't go there anymore, of course. But yeah, anybody ever have gone to one that they'll never go to again in their life? I think it's ill well too, right? Okay, if you were to buy either one of those restaurants, which one would you pay more money for? One you love or one you hate? You know, I mean, come on, right? You know, this is a little bit of a no-brainer. So what happens is, and by the way, would you pay more for Ruth Chris than the market value of all their tablecloths and their tables and their silverware and their, you know, everything that you can get? Would you pay more because you get the name Ruth Chris? You're not really paying for the name, you're paying for the reputation. And you're paying for the history, and you're paying for all their employees, their chefs particularly, right? I mean, you're paying for Ruth Chris, right? The whole package, okay? That's what goodwill is. It's the difference between the fair value of all the assets, the tangible ones you got, less the liabilities you assume. Excess you pay. When is the only time you know what goodwill is? When one business buys another one. Because otherwise, what I do is I start a business. At the end of the year, I debit goodwill, $1 million, and credit net income, $1 million somehow, right? Gain from creating goodwill. And everybody do that, wouldn't it? The only thing that really measure is when you sell a company. Got it? Because that's where goodwill comes from. And what's interesting is sometimes they buy that goodwill and it's not worth anything. So they record it in the books and find out later, wasn't good. We'll talk about that stuff later too. So there's a lot in here, yeah, a lot of stuff.
Keith, when franchising a company, you pay a franchising fee. Does that pay for goodwill basically?
No, the franchising fee is for the right to
Like
run the business, but it would be an intangible, and we'd probably amortize that over the life of the franchise. Yeah, okay, so it'd be an asset, but still an intangible, but it's not goodwill. Okay, yeah. All right, and then they show you a whole bunch of examples of, oh, this return on asset driver stuff we'll do when we do the ratios. Don't worry about that for now either. So pretty nice stuff, not bad. So, what else do we have in here that I didn't put? Anything you guys wanted to talk about? Well, comparative statements. Well, the idea of press releases, what companies will do when they show you a Google report on a company, it's really nice with the internet. You can look up half an hour ago what every stock that was sold on any organized stock exchange in the world was selling for. Pretty cool. You want to see what Apple is selling selling for, say right now, now you pay for a service. Wow. That's valuable information you can trade based on. But it was selling for half an hour ago, it's too late. Okay? To trade based on any additional information that might be in the price. That makes sense? But if you're not buying and selling constantly, it's okay. By the way, I don't encourage you to be a day trader. You guys know what a day trader is? What do they do?
Sit there and watch stocks, like
Just
watch
watch
this one,
stocks.
watch this one go up, and then I'll call it, hey.
I'm gonna buy it right now because it went up so much,
Yeah,
or went
yeah.
down so much,
Yeah,
and then I'm
and
gonna
see,
sell it
see this one drop, you're like, dude, you gotta get rid of that
a
right
few
now.
minutes later. What happens to those people?
A lot of times it just hits all the money.
Yeah, it is fortunate. Now, if there are enough people doing something like that, enough people buying constantly and selling constantly, you're paying trading costs, right, you guys? You pay a percent to buy and a percent to sell. So it's gotta move quite a bit before you have a gain. So your odds of a loss are far bigger than your odds of a gain. That's the idea. So, but what if there are, say 1 million people that are trading like that? Well, some of them just by probabilities make money, just by chance from probabilities. Yes, a few will. What will happen to the average person? They'll lose. So this is dumb behavior. Don't do it. Now, are there people that are constantly monitoring the market and they're buying and selling stocks? Yes. Those folks, commodities traders, right, stock traders in an organized stock exchange, what if they're managing, a few $1 billion and they're tracking stocks constantly? They're not buying a stock, keeping it for a few hours and selling it. They're not doing that. But they're buying and selling all the time. Those people that are out there managing mutual funds, that's what they're doing, right? Or major stock portfolios. They're buying and selling all the time. That's different. That's not being a day trader, right? A day trader is just sitting in their living room, buying and selling, or their bedroom, buying and selling, buying and selling. They might be having fun, but they're not typically making any money. They're just spinning their wheels and wasting money. So don't go there. What I recommend for you guys, until you have enough money and enough time and enough expertise to manage your money yourself, get into no-load mutual funds, like a retirement plan at work, a 401k or something like that, where somebody else manages your money for you. What happens in mutual funds is they take a whole bunch of, a little tiny bit for you and you and you and you and you, but it's from thousands of people. And they put it all together, and now they have a whole lot of money. So their trading costs are real inexpensive when they're buying and selling. And they have people, analysts, who are working constantly, full time. So if you're going into finance, you might have jobs like this. They're working constantly monitoring what's going on with the companies. So there's somebody that's watching exactly what's happening with each individual company, right? That's what they do, okay? And they monitor everything that comes out. So I was going to mention press releases. When a company puts out a press release, they know about it. And they predict what that's going to do to the stock price, right? And they try to find out about the press release before the press release comes out. But there's something called insider information. What's that? Illegal. Why? Somebody inside the company or doing business for the company, like their CPA, like their attorney, knows the company's planning something and the general public doesn't know. We're planning a major expansion. Or they have some good news or some bad news they haven't released yet, and you know it before the rest of the market does. What could you do to benefit yourself?
Buy more stocks or.
Buy or sell stock, yeah, have options to buy or sell, right? Buy options to buy or sell, and automatically know that you're gonna make money, so you can extract wealth from other shareholders, right? So that's illegal, right? You guys know who Martha Stewart is? Right? Martha Stewart went to jail for insider trading. Because she was just so blatant about it. Not that lots of people don't do it and get away with it, unfortunately, right? But she was really blatant about it. And she thought it was amazing to actually send her to jail for this. Well, it's illegal, right? So not that she lived a horrible life in jail or something, Sure, it's pretty good.
She interrogated. I thought she knew.
She does. Did and still does. Yeah, she had all kinds of money. And why would she be doing it?
No, like what company was she doing it?
Oh, she had a friend who had some insider information, and she and he traded, and
Okay.
it was crazy.
So I was trying to get, I was like.
Yeah, and they had some stock. No, they had stock deals. It had nothing to do with their shows or business, really. Right? Yeah, either way, I could make some money for sure. Anytime somebody calls you up and they tell you that they can guarantee that you're going to have a profit, quickly hang up the phone. they knew a surefire way to make money, they certainly wouldn't share it with you. Right? So when somebody says, oh, I have a stock that I know is gonna go up, no, you don't. No, you don't.
It's like a binary
Doesn't
option trading
exist.
schemes online and stuff.
Yeah, they're just trying to rip you. Okay. It sounds, here's a good rule of thumb. It sounds too good to be true. Bet it is. If they say this is extremely low risk, but it pays 20% a year return, and the market's earning 7 or 8% a year, really, and the market has risk at 7 or 8 a year, if you want no risk, you guys can invest in certificates of deposit, what are they, 0.5%, 1%, no risk, government insures them, right? You get that for no risk. You can get risk-free bonds if you have enough money, relatively risk-free. They're guaranteed by the federal government, basically, right? So what are those paying? Less than 3%, right? For a 30-year investment, less than 3%. What do you think, right? So what if you don't take any risk? You don't make any money. Basically, the idea is to keep up with inflation. Basically, is what happens. Right? So that's the other one. Is an investment in a house a really good investment?
Yes.
No. It's a place to live. Might you make some money on it? Sure, but it's one investment. Will it necessarily go up in value? No, it could go down, right? It's one. But you have to have a place to live. You have to pay rent anyway. I'm not saying don't buy a house, but don't buy $1 million house instead of a $200,000 house thinking you've made $800 investment. It's going to appreciate. Take the $800,000, put it in the stock market where it will most likely appreciate, and live in the $200,000 house. How many rooms can you live in anyway? I'm not good for the real estate market, am I? Right? If you want $1 million house, you have $1 million, fine, I don't care. But realize you're just renting a big space, right? Basically. And you can make some money off of it too, 2% a year. On average, 2 to 3% a year you get to earn off of real estate. Living in it. Oh, by the way, you can make money in real estate. You know how you do it? Buy it in a real estate investment trust and do not live in it. Just own it, right? And then they manage it and you make a profit on it. You can make money that way. They're renting it out. That's fine. Anyway, see you guys. Fun little chapter, huh? Oh, we do, don't we? Don't leave. Yeah. Don't go away. What time is she supposed to start? She's probably sitting, she's sitting out there. Go see her. Yeah. That's Lauren over there. I'll tell you. She's visiting with a few of the intermediate folks. Hey, Lauren, one of them reminded me that you're here today. It's a good thing. Otherwise, I would have forgotten. Come on in. Come on, you guys. Did you already tell them everything you're going to talk about? Yeah, I did. Stick around if you can, guys. Lauren's probably a good person to know. Look this way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What's up?
Get this way.
Hey, what's up?
More fun. Get this way. Yeah, I forgot. No, it's typical. It goes to 11:15 theoretically. I just talk forever. You know what I mean? Let's see if I can put this to do something like get off this. Oh.
Oh my gosh, there's smart ones.
Yeah, pretty cool, aren't they? Now what do they do? You just touched down here to me. I can't be on that. I gotta be on this. And touch it. There you go. Kill it. Okay, that's good. I can get you something to write. What I was gonna do too is get rid of the recording that's probably out there recording somewhere. You want to leave recording?
No.
You can write on this if you want to write. There's that right there. It's really fun. You write with your finger. There's supposed to be a little marker here. So why don't you tell them about yourself, who you are and what you're doing and stuff. Thank you for coming, guys. This is a pretty good turnout considering that you're still one of us, sort of.
Yeah.
She is still kind of one of us. But a great person for you to know. Do you guys know who is going to recommend new hires to CPA firms and to companies? You know who they ask for recommendations on who they should hire? How about people they just hired? Yep. Have anybody asked you yet about who's next?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. When
I'm
do you
sure
start
that's
work?
in January.
January. Yeah.
But
They
people
will be.
start in July.
They will be asking you this year about which of these kids they should be taking a look at. So do you guys kind of want to get to know folks who already have positions? Good idea, huh? As soon as you can, right? And so I know she's an old woman. She looks really old, right? How old are you anyway?
22.
22. God, she is old. Okay, anyway, she's really old, right, guys? If you're 18, that seems really old. It's not very far off. And also tell them tell them you got to where you're kind of at. Just remarkable.
So, my name is Lauren Thomas. I just graduated in May with my undergrad in accounting, and then I'm currently